Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Frontier, watching the stars through the main window. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't care. Something was wrong out there in the darkness of space. "Captain, we're getting a strange signal," said Lieutenant Ben Parker from his station. "It's weak, but it's definitely artificial." Jake walked over to look at the readings. The New Frontier was a research ship, not a military vessel. They were supposed to be studying the edge of human space, not looking for trouble. But Jake had been in space long enough to know that trouble often found you anyway. "Where's it coming from?" Jake asked. "About 2 hours away at current speed. The signal is getting weaker, though." Jake thought for a moment. They weren't supposed to investigate unknown signals without permission from Earth. But if someone was in trouble out there, they might not have time to wait for orders. "Take us there," Jake decided. "But keep our weapons ready, just in case." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though they had never actually met any aliens before. Humans had only been in space for 50 years, and so far, they had been alone. "Captain, if this is what I think it is, this could change everything," Lisa said, her voice excited. "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "The signal pattern doesn't match any human technology. This could be our first contact with an alien species." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact. Every space captain dreamed of it, but also feared it. How do you talk to beings you've never met? How do you know if they're friendly? 2 hours later, they found the source of the signal. It was a ship, but unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Instead of metal and sharp edges, it looked like it was made of crystal and flowing curves. Parts of it glowed with a soft blue light, but other parts were dark and broken. "The ship is badly damaged," reported Lieutenant Parker. "I'm reading atmosphere, but it's losing air fast." "Any life signs?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her instruments. "Yes, but they're very weak. Whatever is on that ship, they don't have much time." Jake made another quick decision. "Lisa, Alex, get ready for a rescue mission. Full environmental suits. We don't know what we're dealing with." Alex Rodriguez was the ship's diplomat. If they were really about to meet aliens, they would need someone who knew how to talk to strangers without starting a war. 20 minutes later, Jake, Lisa, and Alex floated through space toward the alien ship. Their suits protected them from the cold and the radiation, but Jake could still feel his heart pounding. "There's an opening here," Alex said through the radio. "Looks like an airlock, but the design is completely different from ours." They managed to get inside the alien ship. The corridors were tall and curved, designed for beings much taller than humans. Everything was made of the same crystal-like material they had seen from outside. Some parts still glowed softly, but the light was fading. "This way," Lisa said, following her scanner. "The life signs are stronger in this direction." They found them in what looked like the ship's central room. Jake stopped and stared. The aliens were beautiful in a way that took his breath away. They were tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to glow from within. Their eyes were large and kind, and when they looked at the humans, Jake felt a strange sense of peace. There were 12 of them, and they all looked weak and injured. One of them, who seemed older than the others, stepped forward slowly. When he spoke, the words came not just as sounds, but as feelings that appeared directly in Jake's mind. "We are the Velinari," the alien said without moving his lips. "We seek sanctuary. We have nowhere else to go," Lisa gasped. "They're telepathic. They're speaking directly to our minds." The elder Velinari continued. "We are hunted, cast out. The galaxy sees us as criminals, but we have done no crime except to exist." Jake felt the alien's sadness and fear as if they were his own emotions. These beings were refugees running from something terrible. What happened to you? Alex asked, trying to use his diplomatic training. The Galactic Council declared us enemies. They say we steal from other minds, that we are dangerous. It is not true, but none will listen. They hunt us across the stars. They make slaves of our people. Jake looked around at the damaged ship and the injured aliens. Whatever was chasing them had done this. Someone had tried to kill these peaceful beings. Our ship is dying, the elder continued. We have traveled far to reach this place. We heard humans are different, that you help those in need, even strangers. Lisa was already checking the aliens with her medical scanner. Captain, they're all suffering from malnutrition and radiation exposure. Without help, they won't survive another day. Jake didn't hesitate. We'll take you back to our ship. Our doctors will help you. The elder's large eyes filled with something that looked like tears. You would help us, even knowing the galaxy hunts us? That's exactly why we'll help you, Jake said firmly. Nobody deserves to be hunted just for existing. As they helped the Velinari to the new frontier, Jake wondered what he was getting humanity into. These aliens seemed peaceful, but someone out there wanted them dead. By helping them, Jake might be making enemies of powerful forces in the galaxy. But as he looked at the grateful faces of the Velinari, Jake knew he had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant taking risks. That was what made humans human. On the bridge of the new frontier, Lieutenant Parker was already sending a message to Earth. Admiral Kate Sullivan would need to know about this. Humanity had just made its first alien contact, and these aliens needed protection. Jake settled the Velinari in the ship's medical bay and guest quarters. Dr. Lisa Carter began treating their injuries, while Alex Rodriguez started learning their language and customs. As the new frontier set course for Earth, Jake stared out at the stars and wondered what would happen next. The galaxy was much bigger and more dangerous than humans had imagined. But maybe, with new friends like the Velinari, humanity could find its place among the stars. The elder, who said his name was HFY, came to thank Jake personally. Captain Morrison, he said, his mental voice warm with gratitude. You have saved not just our lives, but perhaps our entire species. We will not forget this kindness, Jake smiled. That's what friends do for each other. Little did Jake know that his simple act of kindness would soon change the fate of the entire galaxy. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the Situation Room on Earth, reading the report from the new frontier for the third time. Aliens, real aliens, and they were asking for help. This changes everything, said General Rick Turner, head of Earth's defense forces. We always wondered when we'd meet other species. I just didn't expect them to be refugees. Kate looked at the photos Jake Morrison had sent. The Velinari looked so peaceful, so gentle. It was hard to believe anyone would want to hurt them. What do we know about this Galactic Council? Kate asked Dr. Sarah Williams, Earth's top expert on theoretical alien societies. Nothing concrete, Sarah admitted. We've detected radio signals that suggest a large civilization exists somewhere in the galaxy, but we never imagined it was organized like a government. The door opened and President Helen Brooks walked in. Everyone stood up, but she waved them back to their seats. I've been reading the reports. These Velinari, they're really telepathic. According to Captain Morrison, yes, Kate replied. Dr. Carter confirmed it. They can speak directly to human minds, and they seem to sense emotions. And this council wants them back? General Turner nodded grimly. 3 ships appeared at the edge of our solar system yesterday. They're demanding we surrender the Velinari. Immediately. President Brooks sat down heavily. Show me. Kate activated the main screen. The image of Commander Ryan Blake appeared. He was aboard the human ship Defender, facing off against the alien fleet. This is Admiral Threstalk of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. came a harsh, reptilian voice through the communication system. "You are harboring dangerous criminals. Return them immediately or face the consequences." On screen, they could see one of the alien ships. It was massive, dark, and covered in weapon ports. It looked nothing like the beautiful crystal ship the Velinari had arrived in. Commander Blake's voice was calm but firm. "This is Commander Blake of the Earth Defense Force. These beings have asked for sanctuary. We are prepared to discuss this matter through proper diplomatic channels." "There is nothing to discuss," the alien admiral hissed. "The Velinari are property of the Galactic Council. They are thieves and parasites. Return them, or we will take them by force." The communication ended. President Brooks was quiet for a long moment. "Property?" she finally said. "They called intelligent beings property?" Meanwhile, on the new frontier, Dr. Lisa Carter was making discoveries that amazed her. The Velinari were healing faster than should be possible. Their injuries from the damaged ship were almost completely gone after just 2 days. But more interesting was what was happening to the humans around them. The crew reported feeling calmer, more focused. Even Lieutenant Parker, who was usually nervous and jumpy, seemed relaxed and confident. "It's like they have a healing effect on everything around them," Lisa told Captain Morrison. "Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too." Jake found Zephy high in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The Velinari elder seemed sad despite being safe. "You're thinking about your people," Jake said, sitting down beside him. "Yes," Zephy replied, his mental voice heavy with sorrow. "Millions of my kind are slaves across the galaxy. They work in mines, power plants, anywhere the other species need what they call psychic batteries." "Psychic batteries?" "We can enhance technology with our minds, make computers work better, help ships travel faster, keep power systems stable. The Council discovered this long ago and decided we were too useful to be free." Jake felt anger growing in his chest. "They're using your people as living tools? For over 1,000 years. We tried to resist at first, but they were too strong. So we learned to hide, to seem weak and helpless. It was the only way some of us could stay free." "But you're not helpless, are you?" Jake asked quietly. Zephy was silent for a long time. "No, we are not." Back on Earth, the situation was getting worse. 2 more Council ships had arrived, and they were starting to move closer to Earth. "They're running scans of our planet," reported Colonel Tim Hayes from the Orbital Defense Station. "Looking for the Velinari, I think." Admiral Sullivan made a decision. "Bring the new frontier home immediately. We need those Velinari on Earth, where we can protect them properly." "Ma'am," General Turner said carefully, "are we really going to fight the entire galaxy over 12 refugees?" Kate looked at him sharply. "Are you suggesting we hand over innocent beings to be enslaved?" "I'm suggesting we think about the safety of humanity first." President Brooks stepped forward. "General, I understand your concerns. But if we start our relationship with the galaxy by betraying those who trust us, what does that say about who we are?" 3 days later, the new frontier landed at a secret military base in Colorado. The Velinari were taken to a secure facility in the mountains, where they could be safe while Earth's leaders decided what to do. Dr. Carter continued her research and made an incredible discovery. "Captain, you need to see this," she called Jake over to her computer. "What is it?" "I've been analyzing the energy readings from the Velinari. Their brain activity is off the charts. They're not just telepathic. They're incredibly powerful psychically. Much more than they've let on." Jake thought about his conversations with Zephy. The elder had hinted at this, but never explained how powerful his people really were. Why would they hide their abilities? "Maybe because they learned that being powerful makes you a target," Lisa suggested. Meanwhile, Commander Blake was having another conversation with the Council fleet. This time, Admiral Freshtalk was not alone. Several other alien species were on the communication screen. "Humans," said a tall, thin alien with gray skin. "I am Ambassador Krelvis of this Anthari Republic. We offer you a simple choice. Give us the Velinari and join the Galactic Council as junior members. You will have trade, technology, and protection." "And if we refuse?" Blake asked. "Then you will be declared enemies of galactic civilization. No species will trade with you. You will be alone in the universe." Blake looked at the screen full of alien faces. Some looked curious about humans. Others seemed hostile. But all of them wanted the Velinari. "I'll need to discuss this with my superiors," Blake said. "You have 24 hours, Admiral Freshtalk hissed. That night, President Brooks called. "An emergency meeting. They're trying to force our hand," she said. "Join them and betray the Velinari, or stand alone against the galaxy." "Madam President," General Turner said, "we have to be realistic. We're one planet against thousands of worlds. We can't win this fight. Maybe we can't win," Admiral Sullivan said. "But that doesn't mean we shouldn't fight." Dr. Williams had been quiet during the meeting, but now she spoke up. "What if there's another option? What if the Council isn't telling us the truth about the Velinari?" "What do you mean?" "Think about it. If the Velinari are just helpless refugees, why is the entire Galactic Council so desperate to get them back? What aren't they telling us?" At the Colorado facility, Sergeant Tony Martinez was on guard duty when he noticed something strange. The Velinari children were playing a game that involved making small objects float in the air. When they saw him watching, the objects quickly fell to the ground. "It's okay," Tony said gently. "I won't tell anyone." One of the children, a young Velinari named Keshini, looked at him with large, innocent eyes. "You are not afraid of us?" "Why would I be afraid? The others in the galaxy fear our gifts. They say we are dangerous." Tony knelt down to the child's level. "I think you're only dangerous to people who want to hurt others." That evening, Zephyhi asked to speak with Captain Morrison privately. "Your species faces a difficult choice because of us," the elder said. "Perhaps it would be better if we left." "And go where?" Jake asked. "You said yourself there's nowhere safe in the galaxy." "That is true. But we do not wish to bring war to your peaceful world." Jake looked at the gentle alien who had become his friend. "Zephyhi, can I ask you something? Are your people really as helpless as the Council thinks?" The elder was quiet for a long time. When he finally answered, there was something different. In his mental voice, something stronger. "Captain Morrison, there are things about my people that even the Council does not know. We have been hiding our true nature for so long that we almost forgot who we really are." "Who are you really?" "We are the Velinari. Once we were the guardians of this galaxy. And perhaps, with the right allies, we could be again." The next morning, President Brooks made her decision. She stood before the cameras and addressed not just humanity, but the galaxy. "To the Galactic Council, we say this. Earth will not surrender beings who have asked for our protection. We believe in freedom, in the right of all intelligent life to choose their own destiny. If that makes us your enemies, then so be it." In space, Admiral Freshtalk received the message and smiled with his sharp teeth. "Foolish humans. They have no idea what they have started." But on Earth, in a secret facility in the mountains, Zephyhi felt something he had not felt in 1,000 years. Hope. The Galactic Council's blockade of Earth began 3 days after President Brooks' announcement. Ships from a dozen different alien species surrounded the solar system, cutting off all routes to the outer galaxy. But something strange was happening. At the Colorado facility, where the Velinari were staying, Sergeant Tony Martinez noticed it first during his morning patrol. "Captain Morrison, you need to see this." Tony called over his radio. Jake arrived to find Tony staring at a broken computer terminal that was now working perfectly. "It was completely dead yesterday," Tony explained. "Fried circuits damaged. Processor. Now look at it." The terminal was not just working, it was running faster and smoother than it ever had before. "Did someone repair it?" Jake asked. "No, sir. I checked the maintenance logs. Nobody touched it." Dr. Lisa Carter heard about the incident and came to investigate. What she found amazed her. "Captain, it's not just the computer. All the electronic equipment near the Velinari is working better than normal. Some of it is working better than it should be possible." Jake found HFY meditating in the facility's garden. The elder seemed different somehow, more alert, more present. "HFY, are your people doing something to our equipment?" The elder opened his eyes slowly. "We cannot help it, Captain. When we feel safe, when we are not afraid, our natural abilities surface. We enhance what is around us." "How?" "It is difficult to explain in your language. We connect with the energy patterns of machines, of living things, of the environment itself. We make them work in harmony." Jake looked around the garden. The plants seemed healthier and more vibrant than they had been just days before. "You're healing the whole area." "Yes, but this is nothing compared to what we could do if we were not holding back." "Holding back?" HFY stood up slowly. "Captain Morrison, my people have been pretending to be weak for so long that we almost convinced ourselves it was true. But the truth is, we are among the most powerful beings in the galaxy." Meanwhile, Captain Morrison's old friend Commander Ryan Blake was having problems of his own. The Council ships were not just blockading Earth, they were actively scanning the planet. "They're looking for the Velinari," Blake reported to Admiral Sullivan. "Their scans are getting more detailed every day." "Can they find them through the mountain shielding?" "Not yet, but if they keep improving their scans, eventually, yes." Admiral Sullivan made a difficult decision. "Ryan, I want you to take a small team and visit the Velinari homeworld. We need to know what really happened there." Blake chose his team carefully. Lieutenant Sam Foster, a brilliant pilot and engineer. Dr. Nina Brooks, a linguist and anthropologist. And Commander Pete Walsh, a military strategist. Their ship, the Swift Arrow, was fast and small enough to slip past the Council blockade. It took them 2 weeks to reach the Velinari homeworld. What they found there made Blake sick to his stomach. The planet that had once been beautiful was now a massive mining operation. Huge machines dug deep into the ground, tearing apart what had once been forests and cities. And operating those machines were thousands of Velinari, thin and weak, their natural glow dim and fading. "They're slaves," Dr. Brooks whispered as they watched from orbit. "All of them." Lieutenant Foster was monitoring the planet's energy output. "Captain, this is incredible. The power readings from this planet are off the charts. Whatever they're mining here, it's producing more energy than should be physically possible." Blake realized the truth. They're not mining anything. The Velinari themselves are the power source. They watched in horror as the enslaved Velinari were forced to connect their minds to massive machines. The alien psychic energy was being harvested to power ships, cities, entire planets across the galaxy. "The Council isn't just using them as workers," Commander Walsh said grimly. "They're using them as living batteries for their entire civilization." Back on Earth, strange things continued to happen around the Colorado facility. Sergeant Martinez reported that his usually aggressive and difficult squad had become a model unit. They worked together perfectly, rarely argued, and seemed to anticipate each other's actions. "It's like they can read each other's minds," Tony told Captain Morrison. "Not literally, but close." Dr. Carter made another discovery. The humans working closely with the Velinari were showing improved brain function, better memory, faster reflexes, enhanced problem-solving abilities. They're not just healing our machines, Lisa explained to Jake. They're enhancing us too. Jake found this information both exciting and worrying. Are they changing us without our permission? I don't think they can help it. It seems to be automatic when they feel safe and relaxed. That evening, Jake had a long conversation with HFY about what was happening. Your people are making us better, Jake said. Stronger, smarter, more cooperative. Is this what you do? It is part of what we do, HFY admitted. We bring harmony. We connect things that should work together. We heal what is broken. Is that why the Council fears you? Because you can change other species? No, Captain. They fear us because we can reveal the truth. What truth? HFY's mental voice became serious. The galaxy is not as the Council claims. They did not bring peace and order. They brought fear and control. They create problems so they can offer solutions. They start wars so they can end them. They break things so they can appear to fix them. Jake felt a chill. And you can expose this? We can show other species what real harmony looks like, what cooperation without fear can accomplish. We can help them see that the Council's way is not the only way. That's why they hunt you. Yes, we are living proof that their system is unnecessary. The next day brought terrible news. Commander Blake's team had been captured while trying to rescue some of the enslaved Velinari. They were being held prisoner on the homeworld. Admiral Sullivan was furious. They captured our people during a humanitarian mission. That's an act of war. President Brooks agreed. We can't let them hold our people prisoner. But we also can't abandon the Velinari here. It was HFY who suggested a solution that surprised everyone. What if we stopped hiding? He asked during an emergency meeting. What if we showed the galaxy who we really are? What do you mean? Jake asked. My people have been pretending to be weak for over 1,000 years, but we are not weak. We never were. We chose to appear helpless because we thought it would prevent war. Dr. Carter leaned forward. But it didn't prevent war, did it? It just made you victims. Exactly. Perhaps it is time to try a different approach. General Turner looked skeptical. Are you saying your people could fight the Council? Not fight. Them, General. Something better. We could show them what they have become. That night, something unprecedented happened. Every Velinari in the facility, even the children, gathered in the main hall. They formed a circle and began to concentrate together. The humans watching felt a strange sensation, like a warm light filling their minds. Suddenly, they could sense what the Velinari were feeling, not just their emotions, but their memories. Their knowledge, their true nature. Jake gasped as he saw the truth. The Velinari were not just powerful, they were ancient. They had been in the galaxy for millions of years, guiding and helping other species develop. They had been teachers, healers, peacemakers. But 10,000 years ago, a group of younger species had grown jealous of the Velinari's abilities. They had formed the Council and declared the Velinari dangerous. They had hunted them, enslaved them, and used their powers to build an empire based on fear and control. Now you understand, HFY said to the humans. We are not just refugees. We are the galaxy's stolen conscience. Dr. Carter was crying. All this time, you've been pretending to be helpless while they used your people to power their civilization. Yes, but no longer. The Velinari children stepped forward. The youngest, Keshini, looked up at Captain Morrison with eyes that suddenly seemed far older than her apparent age. Captain Morrison, she said, her mental voice clear and strong. Will you help us free our people and show the galaxy the truth? Jake looked around at his human colleagues. They were all feeling the same thing, a sense of purpose, of rightness, of knowing exactly what needed to be done. Yes, Jake said firmly, we will help you. Admiral Sullivan, watching through video link from Earth, made her own decision. All human ships are now authorized to take offensive action against Council forces. It's time to end this. In space, the Council blockade was about to face something they had never encountered before. Not just human determination, but human. Determination enhanced by Velinary power. Commander Blake, imprisoned on the Velinary homeworld, felt a sudden surge of hope. Through the prison walls, he could sense something changing. The enslaved Velinari were no longer hiding their true nature. The galaxy was about to discover that the helpless refugees were actually its most powerful guardians, and humanity was about to become their champions. The real war was just beginning. The change began on Earth at exactly midnight, Colorado time. Every Velinari in the facility stopped pretending to be weak and let their true power show. For the first time in 1,000 years, Captain Jake Morrison felt it immediately. It was like waking up from a dream he didn't know he was having. His mind became sharper, his reflexes faster, and he could sense the thoughts and feelings of everyone around him. "What's happening to us?" asked Sergeant Tony Martinez, staring at his hands, which seemed to glow with a faint energy. "We are sharing our gifts with you," HFY explained. "For too long, we have hidden what we can do. But if we are to free our people and expose the Council's lies, we need all eyes who can match their power." Dr. Lisa Carter was amazed by what her instruments were showing. "The energy readings are incredible. You're not just enhancing our abilities. You're connecting us to some kind of galactic network." "Yes," said Keshini, the young Velinari, who no longer seemed like a child. "We are awakening the connections that have always existed. Every thinking being in the galaxy is linked by threads of consciousness. The Council has been blocking these connections for 10,000 years. Meanwhile, in space around Earth, something impossible was happening. The human ships facing the Council blockade were suddenly performing far beyond their normal capabilities. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Chun, commanding the destroyer New York, watched in amazement as her ship's systems operated with perfect efficiency. "All stations report optimal performance," her crew announced. "Actually, better than optimal. These readings should be impossible." But it wasn't just the machines that were enhanced. Chun found she could anticipate the enemy ship's movements, almost like she could read the alien commander's minds. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan," came the communication from Earth. "Our Velinary friends have stopped hiding their abilities. Work with the enhancement. Don't fight it. Let them help you." The first real test came when Admiral Thresh-Talk's flagship opened fire on the human fleet. The Council ships were larger and more heavily armed, but something strange happened when their weapons hit the human vessels. The energy shields around the human ships didn't just absorb the attacks. They seemed to learn from them, becoming stronger with each hit. Within minutes, the human fleet was completely protected from the Council's weapons. "Impossible," Admiral Thresh-Talk hissed. "No species can adapt that quickly." But the humans could, because they weren't doing it alone. The Velinari were guiding them, showing them how to work in perfect harmony with their technology and with each other. On the Velinari homeworld, Commander Blake felt the change even through his prison walls. The enslaved Velinari around the planet were no longer hiding their power either. The massive mining machines that had been tearing apart the planet for centuries suddenly stopped working. The energy collection systems that had been draining the Velinari's life force shut down. Across the planet, enslaved Velinari were standing up and refusing to power the Council's empire anymore. "What's happening?" demanded the reptilian guard outside Blake's cell. "Your slaves are remembering that." "They're not slaves," Blake replied with a smile. "Back on Earth, President Brooks was receiving reports from around the world. The Velinari enhancement wasn't limited to the military. Everywhere humans and Velinari worked together, amazing things were happening. Hospitals reported that patients were healing faster than ever before. Scientists were solving problems that had puzzled them for years. Even ordinary people felt more connected to each other, more cooperative, more peaceful. "It's like they're showing us what we could become," President Brooks told her advisors. "Not just as individuals, but as a species." But the real revelation came when HFY contacted Jake with urgent news. "Captain, we have made contact with the enslaved Velinari across the galaxy. They are ready to act, but they need our help." "What kind of help?" "The Council has built their entire civilization on our stolen power. Every major city, every space station, every fleet depends on enslaved Velinari to function. If we all stop cooperating at the same time, their empire will collapse." Jake understood immediately. "You're going to shut down their entire civilization. We are going to give them a choice. Free our people and learn to live without stolen power, or watch their empire crumble." The plan was simple but required perfect timing. At exactly the same moment, every enslaved Velinari in the galaxy would stop providing power to the Council's systems. Without their psychic energy, the Council's ships would lose power, their cities would go dark, and their weapons would fail. But there was a risk. "What about the innocent people on those worlds?" Jake asked. "Won't they suffer too?" "We will not let innocents die," HFY assured him. "We will maintain life support and essential systems. But everything else, all the weapons, all the tools of oppression, those will fail." Admiral Sullivan coordinated with human fleets across the solar system. "When the Council systems go down, we move. Our job is to rescue as many enslaved Velinari as possible while their captors are powerless." Dr. Carter had discovered something else important. "Captain, the enhancement isn't permanent unless we choose to make it so. The Velinari are offering us a gift, but they're not forcing it on us." Jake gathered his crew and explained the situation. "Everyone needs to choose for themselves. Do you want to accept the Velinari enhancement permanently? It will make you more than human, but you'll still be human." One by one, every human on the ship chose to accept the gift. They could feel what it would mean, not just power, but responsibility. They would become guardians, protectors, peacemakers like the Velinari had always been. The moment arrived at dawn on Earth. Across the galaxy, millions of enslaved Velinari opened their minds to each other and acted as one. Admiral Threstalk was in the middle of ordering an attack on Earth when his flagship suddenly went dark. Every system failed at once. Weapons offline, engines dead, even the lights went out. "What is this?" He roared into the darkness. Similar scenes played out. Across thousands of worlds, Council ships drifted powerless in space. Cities went dark except for basic life support. The entire galactic empire ground to a halt in seconds. And then HFY's voice spoke to every mind in the galaxy. Council members, enslaved species, free worlds, everyone. "People of the galaxy," his mental voice said calmly, "for 10,000 years you have lived a lie. The Council told you we were dangerous, that we needed to be controlled. The truth is, they feared us because we could show you a better way." Images flooded the minds of every conscious being in the galaxy. They saw the truth about the Velinari, their history as teachers and healers, their forced enslavement, their use as living batteries for the Council's empire. "We do not seek revenge," HFY continued. "We seek freedom. Freedom for our people, and freedom for all species to choose their own destiny without fear. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had never questioned the Council's authority suddenly understood how they had been deceived. The Council had not brought peace to the galaxy. They had brought control through fear and lies. Captain Morrison and the human fleet moved swiftly to liberate the Velinari homeworld. With the Council ships powerless, it was easy to land and begin freeing the enslaved aliens. Commander Blake was among the first to be rescued. "Jake," he called out as his old friend found him in the prison. Perfect timing as always. "How many Velinari are on this planet?" Jake asked. "Millions. But they're weak from years of forced labor. They'll need medical attention and time to recover." As they worked to free the prisoners, Blake told Jake what he had learned. This planet is just one of hundreds where they keep enslaved Velinari. The entire Council Empire runs on stolen psychic energy. "Not anymore," Jake replied. "The Velinari have cut off the power. The Council's empire is falling apart as we speak." Across the galaxy, other species were making their own choices. Some worlds declared independence from the Council immediately. Others were confused and afraid without the strong leadership they had grown used to. But many species remembered what freedom felt like. They remembered what it was like to make their own decisions without fear of the Council's punishment. The Zenthari, one of the Council's founding members, were the first to break ranks. Ambassador Krelvis sent a message to Earth. "Humans, we formally withdraw from the Galactic Council and request to negotiate a new relationship with your alliance." Other species quickly followed. The council that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years was collapsing in a matter of hours. But Admiral Threstalk was not finished. Even with his ships powerless, he had one last weapon. Emergency broadcasts went out across his remaining loyal forces. "All units use manual controls. Target the human homeworld. If we cannot rule the galaxy, we will destroy those who challenge us." Jake received the warning just as he was helping the last group of Velinari evacuate the mining planet. They're going to attack Earth with everything they have left. Sefihai's mental voice was calm but determined. "Then it is time to show them what the Velinari can really do when we are not holding back." For the first time in 1,000 years, the Velinari prepared to use their full power, not to hide or to heal, but to protect their new friends and end the Council's tyranny forever. The final battle was about to begin. Admiral Threstalk's final assault on Earth began with desperate fury. Using manual controls and backup power systems, the remaining Council ships moved toward humanity's homeworld, like a storm of metal and death. But they were facing something the galaxy had never seen before. Humans and Velinari working together as true partners, not as masters and slaves. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the new frontier, now enhanced far beyond its original capabilities. Around him, his crew worked with perfect coordination, their minds linked not just to each other, but to their Velinari allies across the galaxy. "Enemy ships approaching Earth," reported Lieutenant Ben Parker. 300 vessels, all using manual controls. "I think we need our machines to fight them," Jake said with a slight smile. "They don't understand what we've become." Admiral Kate Sullivan coordinated the defense from Earth's Orbital Command Center. But this was unlike any battle in human history. The human fleet moved not as individual ships, but as one unified force guided by collective consciousness. First wave of Council ships opened fire with everything they had. Massive energy beams and explosive missiles filled space around Earth, but none of them found their targets. The human ships, enhanced by Velinari power, seemed to dance between. The attacks, they moved with impossible grace, always exactly where the enemy weapons weren't. How are they doing that? Admiral Threstalk demanded from his flagship. His tactical officer, a nervous insectoid alien, checked his instruments frantically. "Sir, it's like they know where our shots will be before we fire them." They did know. The Velinari had taught the humans to sense intentions, to feel the flow of events before they happened. Every human pilot could anticipate their enemy's actions by feeling the alien commander's thoughts. But the humans weren't just defending. They were fighting back in ways that shocked the Council forces. Commander Ryan Blake, now back in command of his ship after being rescued, led a squadron that did something impossible. Instead of firing weapons, they simply flew close to the enemy vessels. As they passed, the Council ships began to shut down. "What's happening to our systems?" panicked the captain of a Council destroyer as his weapons went offline. The answer came from Keshini, the young Velinari, who was coordinating from Earth. Her childlike appearance was gone, replaced by the dignity and power of her true nature. "We are showing your machines what peace feels like," she explained through the communication channels. "Technology that is used for violence becomes sick. We are healing it." Across the battlefield, Council ships found their weapons refusing to fire. Their targeting systems stopped working. Even their engines began to slow down as the machines themselves rejected their violent purpose. "This is impossible." Admiral Threstalk roared. "Machines do not have consciousness." "Everything has consciousness," Zephihai's mental voice replied, "reaching every mind in the battle. We simply help it remember." But the real shock came when the enslaved Velinari on the Council ships began to act. These were the aliens who had been forced to power the enemy vessels, kept weak and compliant for generations. Now, connected to their free brothers and sisters, they stood up. On Admiral Threstalk's flagship, the enslaved Velinari who had been powering the life support systems looked up at their reptilian guards with eyes that no longer showed fear. "You will step aside," one of them said calmly. "We are leaving now. Get back to your stations." The guard hissed, raising his weapon. But the weapon wouldn't fire. None of them would. The Velinari had convinced the machines to stop being tools of oppression. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on thousands of ships and stations. The enslaved Velinari simply walked away from their posts, and there was nothing their captors could do to stop them. Captain Morrison watched in amazement as Council ships began surrendering one by one. Their crews, mostly ordinary beings who had been following orders, found themselves unable to fight against enemies who refused to hate them back. "This is Commander Velshak of the Council Cruiser Dominion," came a transmission. We surrender. Our weapons won't work. Our Velinari have left us, and our crew is refusing to follow orders." Similar surrender messages came from dozens of ships. The Council's forces were not being defeated by superior firepower. They were being defeated by something they had never encountered before. An enemy who fought by healing instead of harming. Admiral Threstalk, alone on his flagship with most of his crew having abandoned him, made one last desperate attempt. He activated the ship's self-destruct sequence, planning to ram his vessel into Earth itself. But as his ship accelerated toward the planet, something extraordinary happened. The humans and Velinari didn't try to destroy it or force it to stop. Instead, they reached out with their combined consciousness and touched the mind of the angry reptilian admiral. For the first time in his life, Threstalk felt what the Velinari had always offered: peace, understanding, and the chance to be better than he was. He saw his own memories through new eyes. The fear that had driven him to hate the Velinari. The loneliness that had made him crave power over others. The pain of a lifetime spent believing that strength meant the ability to hurt others. And he felt something he had never experienced before: forgiveness. I don't understand," Threstalk whispered as he canceled the self-destruct and let his ship drift to a stop. "You don't have to understand yet," came Zephihai's gentle mental voice. "Understanding comes with time. First comes the choice to stop causing pain." The Battle of Earth ended not with explosions and death, but with healing and transformation. Council forces across the galaxy laid down their weapons, not because they were forced to, but because they finally understood there was a better way. President Helen Brooks addressed the galaxy from the United Nations, building in New York. Representatives from hundreds of worlds listened as she spoke about the new alliance being formed. Today marks the end of rule by fear and the beginning of cooperation by choice, she said. The Galactic Council is dissolved. In its place, we offer something new, a federation of free worlds where every species has a voice and no one rules over anyone else. The response was overwhelming. Species that had been oppressed for millennia eagerly joined the new federation. Even former council members, after seeing the truth about their empire, requested membership. Dr. Lisa Carter was put in charge of a new research program, studying how humans and Velinari could work together to help other species develop their own psychic abilities. Everyone has the potential, she explained in her first report. The Velinari don't make people powerful. They help people discover the power they already had. The Zenthari were among the first to embrace the new way. Ambassador Krelvis visited Earth personally to thank humanity for showing them a path beyond the Council's control. Your species is remarkable, he told Captain Morrison during a diplomatic dinner. You could have used your enhanced abilities to conquer us. Instead, you used them to free us. Jake smiled. That's what friends do for each other. But the greatest celebration was on the Velinari homeworld, now free for the first time in 1,000 years. Millions of liberated Velinari worked together to heal their damaged planet, restoring the forests and cities that had been destroyed by the mining operations. Sci-Fi stood with Jake on a hillside overlooking the restored capital city. The crystal spires gleamed in the sunlight, beautiful and peaceful once again. You have given us more than freedom, the elder said. You have given us hope that the galaxy can be better than it was. You're the ones who made it better, Jake replied. We just helped. No, Captain Morrison. What your species did was unique in galactic history. When given power, you chose to share it instead of hoarding it. When faced with enemies, you chose to heal them instead of destroying them. That is why the galaxy needed humans. 6 months later, Admiral Kate Sullivan, now the first Supreme Commander of the Galactic Federation, issued her first official report. Crime across the galaxy had dropped to almost nothing. Wars between species had ended. Technology was advancing faster than ever before, as species shared knowledge freely instead of hoarding it. The former council worlds were adjusting to life without enslaved labor. Some struggled, but they were receiving help from their former victims. The Velinari, despite everything that had been done to them, chose to help their former oppressors learn to live without stolen power. It's the most remarkable transformation in galactic history, Sullivan wrote. In less than a year, we've gone from a galaxy ruled by fear to one guided by cooperation. But perhaps the most significant change was in humanity itself. Enhanced by their partnership with the Velinari, humans had become something new, still recognizably human, but also more than they had been before. Children born after the alliance could sense the emotions of others, could work in perfect harmony with both technology and nature. They were stronger, smarter, and more compassionate than any previous generation. Captain Morrison, now Admiral Morrison and Earth's representative to the Galactic Federation, often thought about how it all started. A simple rescue mission. A decision to help strangers who had nowhere else to go. Sometimes, he told his wife during one of his rare visits home, the smallest act of kindness can change the entire universe. And in the mountains of Colorado, where it all began, a